must tell you, before you attempt to read this story, that it is not meant to make sense. It won't make sense. Not to you or anybody like you. It only makes sense to us. This is our Bible. This was the beginning. This was the end. And if you do understand, welcome. October 31st, 2004. I met a new friend today. I call him Mr. Stilts. Me and Mommy were out trick-or-treating, and she was talking to the nice lady from across the street. But then I saw something in the woods. It was really shiny, so I followed it for a long time and got lost. I was scared, but then I met Mr. Stilts. He's really tall as the trees, and white, like marshmallows. His feet are like stilts, but pointy at the end. His hands are normal though, like mine, but a lot bigger. And he has 2 shiny white eyes, but no mouth. He still talked to me though. He said he was my guardian angel, and that he would keep the boogeyman away. That's good, because I don't like the boogeyman. He's scary. His hair is all messy and black, and his arms bent backwards. He likes crawling on the floor and lives under my bed. He smiles too much too. November 1st, 2004. Mr. Pierce came today. Mr. Stilts told me that I should stay away from him. He said that Mr. Pierce was his brother in heaven until he did something bad and they made him leave. Mr. Pierce is tall like Mr. Stilts, but he's black all over, and his eyes are red. He also has horns, and his hands aren't like mine, they're like his feet, pointy. He lives in my closet now. He's scary too. November 5th, 2004. I tried to tell Mommy and Daddy about my new friend, but they just told me to go play. I don't think they see them. I think Mommy and Daddy would like to meet Mr. Stilts. He's really nice. November 6th, 2004. I saw the boogeyman again last night. He crawled up on my bed and just sat there. He won't stop looking at me with his scary smile. That was the first time he got on my bed. November 7th, 2004. I asked the boogeyman why he was on my bed last night. He didn't answer me. He doesn't talk much, though. He just crawled out in the hallway, and then the lights flashed. Then I heard Mommy and Daddy scream. I think they saw him. November 10th, 2004. Mommy and Daddy said for me to forget Mr. Stilts. They must think that Mr. Stilts is the boogeyman, 'cause they look really scared. When I went back to my room, the boogeyman was laughing, and Mr. Pierce was looking out of my closet. I think they wanted to scare Mommy and Daddy. It's October 1st, 2012 now. That was in my old diary. I found it inside another book in my bookshelf, literally cut into place. If that wasn't strange enough, I wrote it when I was 5. I'm telling myself that it was simply a childish illusion caused by loneliness. But those creatures, Mr. Stilts, Mr. Pierce, and the boogeyman, I feel like I know them. This could just be my twisted subconscious playing games with me. It wouldn't be the first time, but I don't remember anything before my 10th birthday. You see, I got a minor concussion that year, and it wiped my prior memories into brief images of static and silhouettes. But I'm not sure that that's just a coincidence. Knowing these creatures and having such memory loss, a minor concussion doesn't cause that, does it? It's strange, but I kinda want to find the rest of the pages. I doubt that's the end of the story. Today I was looking through the junk in my garage and found an old dusty box. It revealed more pages of my old diary. Crumbled, but legible. This is unfortunately how they read. December 1st, 2004. Mr. Pierce has been moving things all over the house, and Mommy and Daddy think it's me. Mr. Stilts told him to stop, but he didn't listen. December 2nd, 2004. Mr. Pierce was standing over me last night. He didn't say anything, he just looked at me. He's just as scary as the boogeyman at night. I think I'm going to tell Mommy where Mr. Pierce lives so that she can make him leave. December 3rd, 2004. I told Mommy to make Mr. Piers leave. She went to my closet, and Mr. Piers was there. She screamed and tried to run away, but Mr. Piers didn't let her. He pulled her in the closet and shut the door. It was really quiet, but then Mommy came out eventually. She didn't look angry or happy. She didn't look like anything. She was sick, though. Her skin was really white. She was looking at me, but she wasn't. Like she was looking behind me. Her eyes looked red, too, like Mr. Pierce. I asked if she was okay. She said, "Yes, I love you, honey." And then she walked outside to the woods. I haven't seen her since. That is impossible. I would remember that, wouldn't I? I knew my mom went missing when I was 5, but was it my fault? I've been living alone with my dad for 8 years. I barely see him anymore, though, because he works all the time. I hope that this was just my mind trying to cope with losing her. But that is an insane story for a 5-year-old to write. No, I was dreaming. I had a dream, and that was it. I can't believe my mind could even register this, but I thought I saw my mom outside my window last night. It was horrifying. She looked almost like she was decomposing. Her skin was pale as the snow surrounding her. Her hair black and tangled as the raven sky above. She was wearing a stained white nightgown. It looked almost frozen to her skin, and there was soot around her eyes. They must have been burnt. But the worst thing was the red around her pupils, staring into my soul, crippling me momentarily with fear. I couldn't run. She pointed to a place in our wall that had been sealed and painted over years ago. 8, to be exact. Then she whispered something. It wasn't clear enough for me to understand, but it was the same thing from all those years ago. I know it. She disappeared, but I don't quite remember waking up. It must have been a dream, but such a vivid one. Nevertheless, I'm going to open up that place in the wall. I can't right now, though. I'm in shock, I guess. It's just strange to think that things like this can actually happen. And to me, nonetheless. It took me a while, but I was finally able to bring myself to open up the wall. What I found was disturbing. There were more pieces of my diary, but they were all torn to shreds. And there was a doll. A tall, white doll. It was Mr. Stilts. He had what looked like blood all over him, and what could be described as wounds. Where his face should have been, there was a circle of blood, and a bullet hole to the forehead. When I put the pieces of my diary together, they made sense, or as much as they could. I don't know if I want to read these anymore. Maybe I should give up and pretend this never happened. I truly don't know what to do. December 5th, 2004. Daddy has been looking for Mommy since she left, and a police officer came yesterday and asked everybody questions. I guess they forgot to ask me. Also, Mr. Stilt said that they shouldn't look for her, but he won't tell me why. And the boogeyman has been coming out more. Last night he told me something scary. He said, he searches. Don't know what that means, but I want him to go away now. December 6th, 2004. Daddy was crying last night. I don't think he knew that I was on the stairs. December 7th, 2004. Mr. Stilts is my only friend, but he's not like Daddy. Or Mommy. I miss Mommy. I wish Mr. Piers would let her come back. December 10th, 2004. I saw Mommy today. She was in the woods. I forgot to put on my coat or boots, but she was only a little far away. I ran as fast as I could, but it was snowing, and I was cold. I went really far into the woods, but I couldn't find her. I tripped on a rock and almost fell asleep. But Mr. Stilts came and picked me up. He brought me back home. I didn't know Mr. Stilts was that strong. Daddy was angry at me for leaving, but when I told him about Mommy, he stopped. He told me to stay where I was, and he would go find her. Mr. Stilts said that Mr. Pierce was just being mean. He left then, but I think he went to talk to Mr. Pierce. I sat in the living room until the sun came up. Daddy finally came back. He said she wasn't there and that I shouldn't lie. I was sad because I really saw her. December 11th, 2004. The boogeyman got up on my bed again last night. This time he said, "He waits," and crawled away again. I still don't know who he is. Those terrible pages weren't the end of it. I found a letter, sealed with wax and all. It was under a loose wooden panel in the wall. I want to open it, but after all these terrifying things, I'm not sure I should. I mean, I happen to dream about seeing my mother. Then I read something I wrote 8 years ago describing almost the same thing. And who is he? I don't know. I just don't know. I forced myself to open the letter, and now I wish I hadn't. All it said was, oh, 3, 2, oh. If you can't read that, it's not your computer. It was written like that. I can make out what it says vaguely. October 31st. Found you. That was written on a note from 8 years ago, at least. I can tell you that that is not my handwriting. I doubt now that it's even human. I'm afraid, though. That is 15 days from now. What happens then? This whole thing is just insane. But I'm starting to believe it. Does that mean I'm going insane? Christ, I've been toiling over it for days and I can't figure out who he is. For a while, I thought it was Mr. Pierce. Of the 3 creatures, only one didn't talk to me. It was Mr. Pierce. He was the one who took my mother, too. He possessed my mother, and I might have seen him. I mean, it was only for a second, but I looked out of my kitchen window at the woods and saw 2 red eyes looking back at me. But why would the boogeyman refer to someone I already knew as he? I haven't even been able to stop thinking since I opened that letter. I'm paranoid, I can't sleep, I can't eat, my teachers keep asking me if something is wrong and I lie. I've never not slept for more than 21 hours, I've never stopped eating, and I've never lied to my teachers before. I'm sick of this. I'm going to take next week off school. I'll figure this out one way or another. For 3 days, I've done nothing but think, and thinking can be a deadly thing. The images of those 3 creatures swirling, crawling through my skull, and then before I know it, the 30th rolls around. As usual, I'm sitting on my bed contemplating what tomorrow will bring. It's nighttime, but due to paranoia, the windows are closed and the blinds shut. I look at my hands and think, what will I do? Then I look down at the floor. A twisted arm, a psychotic smile. He waits no longer. Snap. All of this started in the woods. I'm planning on ending it there. I slowly stand and prepare for the end. I grab a knife off my nightstand, the horrible diary note and all. The doll, a lighter, I don't know where I'm going, but I do. A smile that most would call unnatural slithers up my cheeks. I walked past my father, who was huddled in a pool of his own self-pity in our living room, not even noticing that his only daughter is walking out, alone, into the cold, white snow. I almost skipped through the cursed trees where my mother disappeared and Mr. Pierce decided to visit. I jump over the rock that almost made me fall asleep permanently. Eventually, I come across a large metal plate that most likely leads to the end, and laugh. You would expect there to be a pentagram drawn in blood, some macabre but familiar symbol that represents the truest evil. I begin to realize something as I throw the poor attempts at manifesting evil onto the middle of this darkest of metals. I see now. I'm the symbol. Evil cannot be summed up in some drawing. A poor attempt to summarize its true grandeur will never do. I look into the lighter's flame, and my laugh grows louder. I watch the diary burn, pages being scattered while the flames grow larger and surround me. The wax seal of the accursed note melts and drips like blood. I dare not burn the doll, though. It is important. It will lead me to the end. I look upwards into the blackest sky and lean back, shuddering forth with every breath of laughter. Then it's clear. Stands in darkness, waits for me. Mr. Pierce's mystery. He's the devil, that's all I see. I hear myself chant. Stands in light, waits for me. Mr. Stilts' mystery. He's our God, it's all I see. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. The boogeyman you can't forget, for his role hasn't finished yet. When Mr. Pierce and Mr. Stilts are nipping at each other's hilts, he is the one you'll find behind the beginning and end of time. I can no longer see. I, as in the one I now watch fall into the flames laughing. For a few seconds, I feel as if this is the end I've been waiting for. Then I feel the three creatures looking at me. They stand around my body, but look at me, or where I think I am. He found you. The boogeyman chuckles. Now it's time, Mr. Stilts says calmly. In this moment, where I stand between the two planes of existence, Mr. Pierce states the words that I've been looking for since the beginning. The end. And then I blink out of existence. Your existence, anyway.